morning and welcome to Court TV Live. Hopefully you had a wonderful weekend. The jury in Memphis worked over the weekend. We'll talk about that in a bit. Also, we'll have more details on jury selection in the thrill-kill murder trial. It's our next live trial here on Court TV. They're starting that selection process this morning in Florida. But first, closing arguments set for this morning in the NBA star murder trial in Tennessee. Expected to get underway later this morning. First, Billy Ray Turner, accused of murdering NBA star Lorenzen Wright back in 2010. The judge had the jury, which is sequestered, work on Saturday, and boy, did they work. It was a busy day. Both sides ended up wrapping up their cases. The defense calling just one witness. Our cameras were there for it all. We have a lot to cover this morning, a lot of ground. Let's begin with testimony from Saturday with the state's last witness before they arrested, an undercover police detective. The detective conducted surveillance on the defendant and Wright's ex-wife, Shara Wright, who prosecutors say convinced Turner to carry out the shooting. Take a listen.
Back then, was your unit engaged or part of Operation Rebound?
Yes.
And as a part of that operation, back on November 12th, 2017, what were you doing?
I was conducting surveillance on the case.
And who were you surveilling?
Shara Wright and Billy Turner.
Now, was this part of a larger operation where your team was trying to see what they were doing?
Yes.
Had Shara Wright come into town unexpectedly?
Yes.
And was your team aware of this due to a wiretap on both her phone and on Billy Turner's phone?
Yes.
And so at some point, did your team become aware that they may be trying to meet up?
Yes.
And, well, what did you do in response to that?
We met. We were directed to go to a specific location, and we met them there.
Okay. Do you remember what that location was?
483 Starlight.
Okay. Is that here in Shelby County, Tennessee?
Yes.
And did you, in fact, go to that location?
Yes.
And you talk about surveillance team. What does that entail?
We're told to follow a specific person, and we just pretty much tell them around, keep an eye on them, see what they're doing.
Now, are you in a police car and wearing a police uniform when you're doing this?
No, we're in unmarked vehicles.
Unmarked vehicles? Are you wearing plain clothes?
Yes.
Trying to be unobtrusive?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so did you, in fact, go over to this Starlight address to see what was going on?
Yes.
And tell us what happened once you got there. What did you see?
I saw a white Jetta pull on the street and park in front of 482 Starlight. And I saw Miss Shara Wright get out the vehicle and go to 483 Starlight.
And were you expecting her to arrive at that location?
Yes.
Did you see any? Did she went inside, you said?
Yes.
Okay. Did anybody else arrive?
Yes, Billy Turner. He arrived in a maroon Chevy Silverado pickup truck.
Okay. Do you see him here in the courtroom today?
I do.
You point him out for me, please. Describe what he's wearing.
Red tie, gray suit, black suit.
We'll let the record reflect he's identified the defendant, Your Honor.
Record reflect that the witness has pointed to has described and has identified the defendant, Mr. Turner. You may proceed.
And once he arrived on the scene, what did you see?
I saw him get out of his vehicle and go into a 483 Starlight, the same location where Ms. Wright was.
All right. And did they stay in there long?
Not really.
Okay. Did they come out?
Yes, they came out.
Together?
Yes.
And what did you see then?
I observed them walking up and down the street, talking.
Was anybody else with them?
No, it was just them two.
How long were they doing that?
About 30 to 35 minutes.
30 to 35 minutes walking up and down the street talking?
Yes.
Did you hear what they were saying?
No, I could not.
Did this raise your suspicion?
Yes.
Was this, in fact, the type of thing the whole wiretap operation was trying to induce?
Yes.
While you were out there, were you in your car or were you outside of your car?
I was in my vehicle.
Okay. Did you take any pictures?
Yes, I did.
All right. I'm going to pass forward some items and just ask you to look through them and describe them one by one. For the judge, Your Honor, I've already shown these to defense counsel. I don't believe there's any objections.
Yes, sir.
And Detective, if you could, with the first one, just describe to the court what that's a picture of.
Shara Wright walking to her Jetta. Jetta that she arrived in.
And the next one?
Billy Turner exited in his Chevy Silverado.
All right. And the next one?
Billy and Cheryl walking down the street talking.
Okay. And the next one?
Still talking, walking down the street.
And the next one?
Still talking, walking in the opposite direction, walking down the street.
And the next one?
This is them leaving the house in the middle of the street talking.
All right. And the next one?
Still in the middle of the street talking after they left the residence.
All right. And the next one?
Mr. Turner he walked Cheryl to her vehicle.
All right.
And he's standing in the doorway while she's sitting in the vehicle, driver's seat.
All right. Is that the last picture?
Yes.
All right, that undercover agent showing the jury kind of a first-person view of this intel session where he was providing surveillance for this investigation after they found the murder weapon. It was 7 years after the actual murder, but there they are, the two of them, Cheryl Wright, the instigator, the one who cooked up this plan, she already pled guilty, and the defendant, Billy Ray Turner. Together, those shots shared with the jury in dramatic fashion. Let's bring in criminal defense attorney April Preyer. Preyer, she's in Chicago, and Andrew Mishlev is a few hours north of that in Milwaukee. The Midwest being represented this morning. April, this type of technique that the state is using is great because it gives jurors that sort of, ooh, I feel like I'm on surveillance too. You get to see the photos and, ooh, there they are, they're together. Goes a long way, does it not? Even though they're literally walking down a street. I mean, two people walking down a street 7 years after a murder. Your thoughts?
Yeah, every juror loves CSI. And so they love when you can have it all unfold, all the evidence unfold in front of them to show how diligent law enforcement was. They watched them, they listened to them, they tapped their phone. So even if it doesn't really have a whole lot of evidentiary value, it does go a long way with the jury, like you said.
Andrew, connecting, though, which has been a theme throughout this trial, connecting Billy Ray Turner to Cheryl Wright is very important because the jury knows that she was part of this and led this plan to kill her ex-husband.
Well, it's very important to connect them together at this time after the murder weapon is found. That's critical, and that's the purpose of the evidence. But of course, I think the jury is also left wondering, what were they talking about?
Yeah, there was no audio surveillance, and it wasn't as though they were discussing, hey, what are we going to do about this? But still potentially effective. All right, here we are, closing arguments set for this morning, expecting them around 11 o'clock Eastern time. Everything's on the line here. April, do you think the state of Tennessee has met the burden to prove this beyond a reasonable doubt? There are a lot of hurdles in this case.
There are a lot of hurdles, but what they have definitely shown is that Cheryl Wright was the mastermind, that every time she had a conversation about wanting to kill her ex-husband, Mr. Turner conveniently was in the room, that they did have some sort of relationship, whether it was romantic or not. I don't know if they have placed Mr. Turner with the gun in his hand at the scene, however. They do have him as part of the plot because of Jimmy's testimony and also because of the female pregnant cousin's testimony, Claudia. So I'm not sure that they've met their burden or not, but it's been interesting to watch. It's very much like a drama or a soap opera, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely. And with all the different relationships, to that point, Andrew, it's been a trial where this jury has been riveted, according to our team in the courtroom, partly because they're sequestered. Let's face it. This is all they have got. That's all they have going. They worked on Friday or on Saturday as well. Jurors like that, do they not? A story, and the state's been able to tell this story of deceit and murder, and that it resonates, does it not?
Yes, it does. And the defense has been that Jimmy Martin's a liar, Jimmy Martin's a liar, and they have showed time and time again, as I said before, how Jimmy Martin lied, but we don't have a real good sense of why he lied yet, other than he was trying to get a deal. But to me, that's a little bit weak. So this is a case where there's problems on both sides.
April, closings today. If you're the state, what are you going to harp on here in the last chance to sway this jury?
I would harp on how many people have involved Mr. Martin because of his presence at these conversations. I would also point out what they actually can prove up. So the attempt in Atlanta, where both Jimmy and Billy shimmied through the window and found the bald man on the couch, and then they have the bald man come in and say, yeah, that was probably me, and I might have been dead had I been in the home. I would harp on the things that I can actually prove up. I would harp on how many people are saying that Mr. Martin was involved. And again, like counsel said, that the two continue to associate with one another. Shara and Mr. Martin continue to associate with one another 7 years later. What their movements were and their behaviors were after the police started to trickle out information about finding the murder weapon. And, you know, and that's all they have. And then, of course, on Jimmy's actual testimony as to the involvement of Mr. Martin.
Yeah, and we'll probably get a good dose of, too, what the community lost and how the community needs justice for Lorenzen's death. What about the defense, Andrew? Is this all about you can't believe Mr. Martin and Mr. Turner is being set up?
I think it has to be. And maybe that's what it has to be. It's dangerous for the defense to assume the burden of proof, to say, this is the real story, this is what the evidence shows to you, because, of course, the defense has no burden of proof. And sitting back and just punching holes in the prosecution's story is sometimes the best strategy. But when you do have a story, when you can say, this is why Jimmy Martin is lying, that's even more effective. I don't think they can say that. So they're going to have to sit back and just say, you can't believe Jimmy Martin.
Yeah, and or be honest, we don't know why he's lying, but he's lying, and you saw him up here and blah, blah, blah. But I think there'll be a lot of reasonable doubt talk that they haven't met the burden, which you articulated is always a good one as well. We'll see. Again, expecting the closings to start around 11 o'clock. Typically, they get started a little late in this courtroom, but we'll have every minute of it for you live. Coming up, we're going to talk about the cross-examination of the undercover police detective who took those pictures of the defendant and Shara Wright, what Billy Ray Turner said when he was asked if he wanted to testify as well. That's next.
Shopguilt.com today.
Closing arguments in the Billy Ray Turner murder trial are set to begin this morning after the state and defense both rested their cases over the weekend. Before they begin today, we're getting you caught up on the biggest moments over the weekend. Billy Ray Turner is facing first-degree murder charges in the 2010 death of former NBA star Lorenzen Wright. The victim's ex-wife, Shara Wright, is already serving a 30-year sentence for facilitating the murder. Before the state rested their case, they called an undercover officer to the stand. Our cameras were there. We were not allowed to film the witness, his face, or identify him because, of course, he's undercover. We just heard some of the direct testimony. Now let's listen to some of the cross.
Detective, through your investigation on that day, were you able to determine if there were other people at this home at 483 Starlight?
Yes, I was.
Were you able to determine what was going on at that home?
No, I was not.
If I was to tell you that there was a cookout going on there, would you be able to confirm or deny that?
Possibly, I couldn't confirm or deny.
So there were other people at the home?
Yes, it was.
This talk between Shara and Billy, it wasn't a secret, was it?
Well, it was kind of odd because they left a residence to walk down the street and talk privately.
They were walking down the street in public for anybody to see.
Yes.
No, of course.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Mr. Schofield.
They were walking down the street for anybody to see, but they weren't in the house for anybody to hear.
Yes.
Right?
True.
That's it, Your Honor.
Mr. Thomas, any additional questions?
When you you had a conversation either, did you?
No, I did not.
Another big moment that played out in court over the weekend was when the judge gave the defendant the opportunity to testify. Here is how Billy Ray Turner responded.
Ms. Turner, come around, please, sir. Come around to your left. Ms. Turner, good morning. Raise your right hand, please, sir. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God? Thank you, Ms. Turner. And now have a seat right here, sir. Right step, please. Ms. Turner, good morning. If you will, please state your name for the record and spell it for the court reporter, please, sir.
Billy Turner, Billyllyturner.
Ms. Turner, this is what is referred to as a moment hearing, okay? Mr. Perry and Mr. Thomas are going to ask you some questions about whether or not you choose to testify as a witness in the case. You understand that, sir?
Yes, sir.
Prosecutors will not be able to ask you any questions at all. Mr. Perry is not going to ask you anything about what happened. Mr. Thomas will not ask you anything about what happened, what you did, or what you did not do. They will not ask you those questions at all. So listen to the questions that Mr. Perry will ask of you. Make sure you answer those questions. Don't volunteer anything. Don't say anything about what might have happened. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
You have any questions, sir?
No, sir.
Mr. Perry, you may proceed.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Turner, please, you've been here throughout the full week of trial, correct?
Yes, sir.
And at all critical moments, you've been present in the courtroom, right?
Yes, sir.
As well, we've had conversations regarding the right to testify.
Yes, sir.
And you also know that you have a right to not testify.
Yes, sir.
Based on our conversations and the representations of counsel, the advice of counsel, have you made a decision regarding testifying?
Yes, sir.
What's your decision, sir?
I do not want to testify.
And you ready to go forward with the case?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any? Do I need to ask him anything additional, Your Honor?
No, sir.
All right, thank you.
Billy Ray Turner saying no thank you. Doesn't want to take the stand in this case. That took place over the weekend. Again, the jury was working over the weekend. They're sequestered. Still with us, criminal defense attorney April Prayer in Chicago and Andrew Mishlove in Milwaukee. Andrew, to you first on this one. Was this the right decision not to testify in this case?
Well, we can't know that because we don't know what Billy Turner would have said if he had testified. I can tell you that testifying is something the jury always wants. They want to hear from the defendant, and it is very often the worst thing that a defendant can do. Look at the McMichael trial and the Ahmaud Arbery killing. When Travis McMichael testified, it was a complete disaster. On the other hand, Kyle Rittenhouse really sold his case. So we just don't know what Billy Turner might have said if he had testified. It is a high-risk, high-reward thing for a defendant to do. And I think we have to trust his attorney's judgment and his judgment that it wasn't a good idea in this case.
April, what goes into your thought process when contemplating that decision and talking it through with a client?
Much of what goes into my decision is how does that defendant present? Do they speak well? Do they present well? Are they going to be able to articulate their thoughts, whatever those thoughts may be, clearly to a jury? And if you recall, the way this defendant was described by Claudia Robinson was slow to respond, maybe developmentally disabled in some way, I can't say. But if that is how he presents, that may not have gone well at all for him, regardless of what he had to say. What's interesting, though, is how this was done. I've never seen an attorney question the defendant as to his rights. I've always seen the judge do it, but they had to make a call, and this defendant has decided not to testify. So we have to assume that that was the best decision for him.
Yeah, I'm sure they mulled it over and possibly even did a little practice run or two, and at the end of the day felt as though their case was stronger, collectively not putting the client on the stand. The defense did put up a defense. It was very short, only one witness. After the state rested its case on Saturday, the defense had an opportunity to put the defendant on. They said no, or put on a case, and they said, yeah, we want to put on one witness. And this witness was sort of alibi-ish, talked about the fact that the day of the murder, that the defendant was with her at a social gathering, a cookout. And take a listen to some of what she told the jury.
During the course of that day or evening, did he sing himself like you normally know him?
Yes.
All right. And can you tell us what you normally know when you see him?
Very festive, joking, interacting a lot with the children. He's kind of like a mentor to some of the little teenage boys that was there. Just being himself.
Was there anything odd or rushed about him or nervous acting about him at all?
No.
This witness saying that, yes, okay, he wasn't with us at this party, this function at the time of the murder. It was just before it. The murder was later that evening, but didn't show any signs of anything off. Andrew, your thoughts on the effectiveness of something like this that, a juror might think, well, yeah, if you're about to kill somebody, you're not going to some function, and or maybe you are. Your thoughts?
Well, it could cut both ways. He could just be a cold-blooded killer who is able to laugh and joke before he does it. To me, what has more impact is the fact that this person seemed like a very nice person, the kind of person that if I was the defense, I would want to associate with Billy Ray Turner. He hangs out with nice people. He is not a monster. So that was a good part of the meaning of that as well.
Yeah. April, your thoughts?
She almost served as a kind of sneaky character witness, because if you notice, what she said was that he was a mentor, that he was pleasant and joking, and that he looked out for the kids who were at the affair. So I think that worked in his favor.
Yeah, good point. She slipped that in, that he was great with the kids, kind of a mentor. And jurors obviously picked up on that and that association. As we move forward here, Andrew, the closing argument's so critical, and in this case, this jury's been sequestered. They're ready to go, I'm sure. Let's get on with it. They had yesterday off on Sunday. They worked all day Saturday, which was good. They've already been instructed, so that's also out of the way. So you're going to have a boom, boom, close and go scenario. That's perfect, is it not? Especially, you could argue the state, because they'll get the last word here, but there's not going to be the long instruction, and they're going to be deliberating at the beginning of a work day rather than getting the case at 4 or 5 o'clock at night.
Absolutely, I agree. And that could work to the defense's favor, because when jurors get tired and they want to get it over with, I think lawyers believe that they tend to go to guilty, but if they have a lot of energy and they want to debate, that favors the defense. As a juror, boy, you sure hate waiting and all of the boring stuff. So the jurors, I think, are really anxious to get on with it and hear the arguments, and I'm sure they want to see something dramatic and they want to have their questions answered.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll watch it all together as soon as they get up and running. About 90 minutes from now, they're scheduled to listen to those final closing arguments, and then it will be time to deliberate.